a lot of stuff has to do with knowledge. Knowledge is power in this game. And as a tenant, you have to know certain things about your apartment and about this other party to the contract, the landlord. And what I have found is generally, people don't even know who their landlord is. I go, who's your landlord? They go, oh, it's Tony, it's Joe, whatever, right? Or they say, it's, you know, Pinnacle Management or something like that, right? So they'll say it's a management company, or they'll say it's a person. Usually it's neither the management company nor a person. But, you know, I want you to know a whole bunch of stuff. I want you to be a little bit of a nosy neighbor online and know what's going on in other apartments as well. You know, who is beefing about the landlord about what? That could affect you, right? This is your building. This is just a couple of things that you saw in the first 10 minutes of my video, but just the two that I really want you to know, okay? Now, first of all, you know about your partner Google, right? And how to use it. Google. Okay. And so you know that if you put HPD into Google, you would get the website of HPD, right? Wait a minute. Where is it? HPD. All right, there it is. Okay, so you get a page that looks like this, right? And so this is not general information. This is information about you, your apartment, right? And you know how to get it. You go right over here. And then you got, you know, borough, street, house number, and all this stuff. And you type that in, right? And so you type it in, and you'll get a page that looks like this. And so it's going to talk about violations. Now take, for instance, if you called in a violation. You say, hey, I'm sick and tired of that landlord not coming over for that broken toilet. I'm calling 311. You call 311. Some guy shows up. He says he's going to issue a violation. Now you want to know, did he issue the violation or not? And if he did, what did the landlord say he was going to do about it, right? So you should see this violation right here. So if you're apartment 27, then you would see, okay, well, you know, this you've got a broken plaster surfaces and paint problem, and essentially that's a water damage violation. And so this person's only been waiting 6 years for their wall to get repaired, but you see the violation. Also, if you're shopping for an apartment, you get to find out, hey, this is important information about your future landlord possibly, right? You'd want to know this if you're shopping for an apartment, right? You just, you know, type it right in, you'll just know it just like that. Sometimes you can catch the landlord in a lie about this, you know, because you'll call and go, hey, you know, you moved into a place and you go, hey, you know, I've got bed bugs, and he goes, oh, yeah, well, no one else complains about bed bugs, and you say, hey, well, the lady 2 floors above is complaining about bed bugs, and the violation's on there for 6 months. What are you talking about? You know, and so water damage also, molds also, molds. You'll see like what you'll see in a building violations profile is they'll say, mold on the wall, apartment 2C, 3C, 4C. You know, it just goes right up the line like that, and because, you know, water flows down, right? So so that shows you something. Shows you something, right? What am I looking at now? Oh yeah, DOB into Google. So you just type DOB into Google. That stands for what? Department of Buildings, right? And so here, I love this. This is maybe is better for a litigator, but sometimes it'll be good for you too. So here, you'll see the same thing right over here. It says, you know, street number, street name, and so, you know, my scuba shop is just over here at 125 East 4th Street. So I, just for fun, I put in the profile and, so that I have an example. And so I press the button, and this is what I get. So this is a building profile. For the landlord, it's not so good, because if there's a stop work order, it says stop work order right on the top of the building profile in red. So when now I've found out something very interesting. Oh, I did that real messy, didn't I? I find out that I've got a stop work order, and if I click on that, I'm going to find out what that stop work order is about. Now also, I've got this. This is very important for me. Certificates of occupancy. So that's called a C of O. That's one of the most important documents that a building can have in New York City, aside from a lease. Certificate of occupancy. It shows, okay, this apartment is supposed to have 6 apartments, right? And this C of O is issued as of, say, 1932, right? So you know that if it's 6 apartments, 1932, if there's no other legal change to that apartment, it is what? Rent stabilized, even if there are 5 apartments today, right? And so the other thing about it is it tells you whether there is a commercial unit on the 2nd floor or a residential unit on the 2nd floor. So if you are living in an apartment, and then you find out on your C of O that, oh, this is actually commercial space. That's a violation of the C of O. That means your apartment is illegal and you don't have to pay rent, pretty much until the problem is solved. So I'll tell you a story about this C of O thing. Turns out that I went to, a college friend of mine called me up when I was just a brand new lawyer. And he said, oh, well, I need you to come over to my apartment in Harlem. There's like this green mold growing on the wall or whatever. I thought he was being paranoid to go over there, and it was so green that Tiger Woods could have played on it. That's how green that mold was, right? And so the whole building was up in arms. The landlord had just cut off the boiler the day before. Somehow she decided to cash in on the Harlem housing market, and she wanted everybody out so she could sell the building. So I see there's 4 apartments in this brownstone. And then it wasn't me, it was one of the tenants who told me, oh, the C of O of this building says 9 apartments. And so I was like, oh, really? And so what I did is I talked to all the tenants. I said, look, you don't have to pay the rent. You just pay me 1/3 of your rent every month as a fee, as a lawyer's fee. And they said, oh, you mean escrow the rent or save it like in a rent strike? I said, no. Just do whatever you want with it, And I'll guarantee you, if you have to pay the rent, I'll give you back my fee. But if not, then I'll keep 1/3 of it every month for as long as I can keep you in the apartment. So anyway, I figured that what happens, the landlord will hire an architect, and in a few months they'll get it straight, and that'll be that, And then the tenants will be in rent-paying status again. It was 4 years later, and they were still there. And they've never paid a day of rent for 4 years. And then at the end of it, the landlord, a new landlord bought it out of bankruptcy, and they paid off all the tenants. And so that's kind of how it went. So C of O is really important. Now, another thing you want to know about your building is whether, who owns it, right? So that's a real big consideration. So here you go to a website called ACRIS, A-C-R-I-S. So again, I love Google, so I just just type into Google, A-C-R-I-S, ACRIS. And then you go to the website of the Department of Finance. Now, here, it's real easy to use one of these links, but little trick, in order to use this link, you need the block and lot number of your building. Where do you think you get it? The block and lot number. DOB. So going back a page, just a little bit of a review, I have gotten, on this page right here, a block and lot number right on the top. And where is it? Anybody see it? Yeah, there it is. Right there. Block and lot number. So for this building, block 446, lot number 7501. And so then you type it right in here, and then you get the latest deed for your building, or the oldest deed for your building, wherever you want. And this is very, very vital information. You can find out about the mortgage for your building, how much the landlord owes the bank. You find out who currently owns the building. You find out who sold the building to the landlord. And so a deed goes like this. party of the first part and party of the second part. So the first name is always the guy who's getting rid of the building, and the second name is the entity that received the building. The name there is the exact name, not approximate, not, oh, I go by Joe, but my ID says Joseph. The exact name of the landlord is on the deed, right? So it's amazing how often this becomes an issue, who owns the building.